Do you ever feel like you struggle to maintain good eating habits with such an on the go, busy lifestyle, and you're trying to figure out how to eat to actually get the excess fat off, but without living like a fitness monk or like you're training for some pro bodybuilding show? See, the internet is actually filled with all kinds of crappy tips and tricks that leave most of us feeling, well, like you need to spit out any foods that actually taste good if you want to actually get into shape. And the thing is that what if there were, I don't know, some super practical solutions that actually fit the lifestyle of a faith driven high achiever just like you, just like me, so you could actually still go out to eat. You could enjoy your favorite foods and get into shape, but actually stay in shape so you don't lose it as soon as you get bored with the regimen or as soon as life gets busy and crazy. Well, if that's you, you're in the right place because in this video, I'm going to actually share with you my 10 eating laws that empower faith driven high achievers to lose fat and gain strength, much like I've done with my fitness coaching clients over the last 20 years since 2005. The cool thing is we're going to do this without rigidity or surrendering your lifestyle so that your health and fitness is built on rock, like the word teaches, instead of on sand. So that, well, when life gets stressful, when it gets busy, when it gets hectic, your progress doesn't wash away. So, hey, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lance. Since 2005, I have helped hundreds upon hundreds, at this point, well over thousands of high performing entrepreneurs, creators, and leaders get rid of excess body fat, get stronger than ever, and gain more confidence than they ever thought possible. But without the extremes, without the fitness obsession, and without giving up their life to do it. Now, if you're a faith driven high achiever who's confident at work, but feels stuck or maybe held back in your health and fitness, and you want a permanent transformation built on rock instead of another temporary makeover built on sand, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to go ahead and show you some stuff that should blow your mind today. So the very first thing is that what most people end up doing, unfortunately, is probably what you might have been through. I know I've been through it. You plan to eat well so that you can finally get rid of the belly and get your edge and your confidence back until the late nights, the stress, or the rush mornings begin to derail you. Real life happens, and unfortunately, most meal plans, most weight loss programs, most fitness programs just don't fit the life of a busy professional or entrepreneur like you and me. Then you end up mindlessly snacking, over or under eating, and wondering why the belly just won't come off and won't budge even though you tried to eat right. And that frustration, just so you know, it is not your fault. It's actually missing simple, sustainable laws that fit your real world. So it's not your lack of discipline. It's not your lack of willpower. It unfortunately is that you have most likely, if you're like my clients and myself, you've tried things to get yourself in shape. And unfortunately, those things never fit your lifestyle. So as soon as stress, life, or busyness happens, your health and fitness just goes by the wayside because you're probably not wanting to bring chicken and kale to a barbecue or a wedding or, God forbid, a funeral or going to a church function. I used to hate that whenever it'd be a Wednesday night and you go up to church and you see all of the potluck dinner and all of this stuff. We'd have that like one Wednesday a month. And you feel like if you eat anything that's enjoyable, you're going to undo your progress. Maybe that's just me, but I know many of my clients and myself, that's what we've dealt with. So what I want to do is show you 10 rules that will actually help you lose the belly without living like some sort of fitness monk, plus a bonus rule that gives you so much more food freedom without sabotaging your goals, all right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in. So let me move this here so I can see a little bit better. All right, so what we're talking about is 10 eating laws to lose belly fat and gain strength after 35. And as you know by now, I typically work with faith-driven high achievers, high performers, entrepreneurs, busy professionals, etc. And so that's mostly what I build my programs around for, just like myself. So what we're going to do is we will go ahead and dive on into this. One second here. There we go. All right, perfect. Okay. So first thing is that I want you to know is that how fat loss works And again, if you've seen my other videos on this, this is review, but I always like to set this up so that you know, before we get into any of these laws, fat loss is going to work based on a calorie deficit, okay? You don't have to avoid your favorite foods. You don't have to eat every 2 to 3 hours to keep your metabolism going. You don't have to do any weird fasting. You don't have to do those things to get the belly fat to go away, okay? So as you see here, this is a deficit where this individual is eating 1,800 calories and burning 2,300 calories. Now, the 2,300 is just as an example because it puts us at about a 500 calorie deficit, but it doesn't have to, this is just an example. Whereas maintenance is, again, if you're eating 1,800, but you're only burning 1,800, you're going to maintain. If you do the opposite of the deficit, where you're consuming 2,300, but you're maybe sedentary, you're not exercising, maybe you're only burning 1,800, that's going to lead to weight gain. It's very, very simple. Once we have this dialed in, now we can actually start on the 10 laws, and these are going to change your life if you allow them to. So, very first thing is what gets measured gets improved. So you want to track your food intake in an app until you're eating with solid results becomes habitual, okay? We can't manage what doesn't get measured. Now, a lot of times people ask, well, Lance, do I have to track my food forever? Not at all. Now, I still track my food because if you're anything like me, if you grew up with absolute garbage eating, as far as like, you know, knowing, like for me, I was typically, I would overindulge or I would overeat, eat way too large of portions. I mean, I would do giant cereal or salad bowls of cereal, you know, and it was one of those things where I was raised, if you don't finish your plate, you don't get any more. It's all that stuff. And so one of the first things that I learned is the same thing that I learned in business. Now, I had an awesome mentor when I was 18 years old teaching me a lot about business. And this individual was such an amazing mentor. And again, both biblically and business wise. And one of the first things that he taught me was understanding that you need to know your ledger. You need to know your profit versus loss. Basically, what you're spending versus what you're making. And that was such a, even though I absolute hate tracking stuff, I'm such a creative, like free spirit. It wasn't natural for me to want to do that, but I could not deny the power that came from that, especially when you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrants, all of that stuff, okay? So you begin to learn that you're not going to build success if you don't have an understanding of what's coming in versus what's going out. So that's your first thing. It's so easy now with all kinds of apps, all right? You back in like 20 years ago when I was first starting in personal training, all of my clients had to write down everything, and they did it. They got amazing results. I would hate doing that all over again, but you don't have to do that anymore. That's the great thing. So the very first thing is you want to track your food at least until you get not only the body fat off and get in shape, but so you can prove to yourself that you can eat the right things and actually keep yourself fit. It doesn't make any difference, or I'm sorry, it doesn't make any sense to get yourself in shape only to lose it and backslide, okay? We as believers, we know that when we have a transformation, as the Bible talks about, the renewing and the transforming of the mind, it's an internal change that leads to external habit changes and external behavior changes. And so the very first thing is we have to decide is you have to know that if you're wanting a long-term, what I call a permanent transformation instead of a temporary makeover, you've got to do things differently. And it starts with deciding that I don't want to be how I am right now. That's the acknowledgement of current life being painful. And when we get from there, now we're willing to change. But if you do the world's way, which is built on sand, you're going to be tempted to just do the easiest way, the fastest way. And the fastest way, the easiest way, is typically going to be the way that causes you to regain the weight or lose the muscle and strength that you've gained because it's not something that fits into your life. And on top of that, most diets are designed, most meal plans, most fitness programs are designed for fast results, not for long-term results, okay? And so for me, yes, I want fast results, but not at the expense of long-term results, okay? So what we want to do is make sure that we're actually focusing on what can I do to get me really quick results, but not in a way that would be like a get rich quick scheme, but for fitness, okay? And the first thing to do is to begin tracking your food so that you can know, is what I think that I'm taking in actually the right thing? Am I actually taking in enough calories or not enough, etc.? And the reason is because there. I don't know if you've seen this, but recently there was a new study, and this woman believed that she had a slow metabolism, thought she was only taking in 1,100 calories, but due to blood work and testing urinalysis, they were able to actually see what her body burned and what she actually took in. She was off by a little bit. She thought she was taking in 1,100 calories. What the blood work showed was she was taking in 3,000 calories, okay? So you need to know that we as humans are not very good at being objective when it comes to ourselves. And so the average statistic is that we typically will underestimate how much we're actually consuming by way of calories by up to 46%. That's huge. That is more than enough to take you out of a calorie deficit, meaning that you will not lose body fat if you're eating without tracking your food. I digress, but I just want to make sure that this makes sense, all right? Number two, aim to stop eating 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, and be sure to get all of your calories and macros in by that time. Don't leave anything on the table. You're going to sleep better. It's going to curb late night boredom, emotional eating. And again, with the sleeping aspect, you're not going to be having your body doing the digestion chores and all of that. Instead, your body is going to be focusing on recovery. You need 90 minutes of REM sleep. You need 2 hours of deep sleep in order for your body to be at peak performance. And that's at minimum, okay? So this is one of the best rules that you're going to use. You don't have to stop eating at 9 p.m. You don't have to stop eating at 7 p.m. None of that stuff. What you do have to do is make sure that you are giving yourself whatever time you go to bed. If you're like me, I go to bed sometimes at 1 or 2 a.m. So I would never do something such as stopping eating at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. like so many of the fitness influencers talk about. It doesn't fit my life, and chances are it doesn't fit yours either. But if you use a time before your bedtime, like 1 to 2 hours, this works really well, okay? All right, number three, try not to eat out of the container the food came in, all right? Now, this might sound silly, but if you're doing this, you're most likely rushing, you're not paying attention to serving sizes, portions, or much of anything. So you might just, start pulling out and eating more and more. We don't want to do this. So if you're eating out of a chip bag, you want to break it up into portions, put it in snack size bags, and then make sure that you've got 100 calorie or 150 calorie snack size bags, and you're good to go. This is huge. It'll help you immensely, I promise you. Next one, you want to weigh all your food with the food scale unless you're at a restaurant. I know it sounds tedious, but I promise you it works so well, and it will keep you from overdoing things. It takes seconds, and you only got to do this until you get your eyeballs down where you're like, oh, I got this down. I don't need this at all. That's what we're looking for. The rewards are so worth it. And once you've done this for like 6 months to a year, you'll never need a scale ever again. I can assure you, you're going to be so good. You'll be able to eyeball your chicken, your food, whatever. Now, I will say that when I say like chicken and stuff, that's not all I want you to eat either. You can eat more foods. You don't have to live on chicken, kale, broccoli, and all of that stuff, okay? But what I am saying is that when you're eating these healthy foods, it's going to be so much easier to make sure that you didn't overdo it just by simply grabbing the scale. It's so worth it. So take a few seconds. Guys, these scales have gotten so thin too. 20 years ago when I started as a personal trainer and was doing, nutrition for clients, I would have them use a food scale, and these things were huge. They weighed a lot. They didn't fit in a purse. We literally have a scale that I can fit in my back pocket of my jeans. Okay, so there's really no reason not to do this. And I'll be honest with you, I've even brought the scale to restaurants at times. I know that makes me seem like a zealot, but whenever I'm really focused, it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, it takes 30 seconds. Why not? And I just do that, and then I'm like, okay, good. I'm good to go. Am I telling you to do that? No. I'm just telling you that that's what I've done. And let me tell you something. Nothing feels as good as being in shape and knowing that you can eat the foods that you want and knowing that I'm not overdoing it. Guys, it's not any different than checking your, I was going to say check register. I don't even think people use this anymore, but checking your bank account to make sure you've got enough money in it. But, maybe while you're at Target or something, before you buy a coat, before you buy a new something, you might glance at your, at your bank account to make sure you've got enough in there. This is all tracking food and weighing your food does. It's just making sure that you know what you're about to eat and that you've got the money, if you will, to afford it. And that's it. And so what I like to do is I liken a lot of times what we do in nutrition to a budget, because it's pretty much one and the same. When you understand CICO, calories in, calories out, you're going to know that it's just a balance sheet, just like what Robert Kiyosaki teaches, okay? And if you are consuming more than you're making, it's the same as not being a good steward with your money that the Lord is blessing you with. And if you are overindulging, it's identical. You're not stewarding well over your body until you learn, if you're anything like I was, until you learn how to be really good at stewarding over your nutrition and your body, you want to use a few tools that teach you how to do this. Now, if you grew up and you had parents that taught you, how to balance your portions and you know that, hey, maybe you don't need to do that. But I want to share for all of you guys who are like me, where you go like, look, I don't know what moderation is. You tell me moderation, then I'm going to maybe think that I need a smaller salad bowl for my cereal or, something like that, as opposed to knowing that, oh, wow, I'm overindulging by like 8 times the amount that I need. Okay. So weighing your food really, really helps. The next thing is you want to make sure that you're weighing in grams. Now, this was something that seemed trivial at first to me until I started testing this. So about probably 6 or 7 years ago, we started testing, ounces versus, checking with cups and, measuring cups and tablespoons and all of that. And nothing was more accurate than grams. Okay. So when you measure in grams, it's going to make sure that what you think you're consuming is actually legit. All right. I did something, I guess it must have been about 5 years ago. Time just flies. But about 5 years ago, I was showing some clients the difference between weighing in grams versus eyeballing and weighing in ounces. And I asked them, I took out a tablespoon of peanut butter and then a second and then a third. And I showed them all the peanut butter and said, which one is a serving? And they were trying to guess. Nobody got it right. And so, in fact, none of them were actually a serving. Every single one of them was over it. Okay. So what I did was I was showing them a tablespoon and they're like, one of them guessed like, oh, it's got to be that one. And then I put it on the scale and it showed it was like 1.7, how do I say that? 1.7 times the serving size. So it was almost double. Then the middle one was double. And then finally the third one, I think, was like 1.25 times. What that showed was that they thought, one of them at least was legit. All three of them, even though to their eyes and according to the scale by ounces, looked like it was pretty close. As soon as I put it into grams, there wasn't one single one of those tablespoons of peanut butter that was an actual single serving. What does that mean to you? Well, it means that if you're eating things like peanut butter, like I love and most people do love, there's a good chance you might be going over anywhere from 70 to 200 calories in what you think is one serving. And I had this with a client before where she was like, Lance, I'm eating in a deficit. I just don't know what's happening. I was losing, now I'm not. And then I was like, are you weighing everything? Yeah, I'm kind of. And then as soon as I said, well, let me write you up a meal plan. I write up a meal plan where it makes them actually, in order to make the food, it makes them weigh it. She was down so many pounds within weeks that it was like, I think we went from like not losing to losing like 7 or 8 pounds in 30 days. Same calories, same everything. She thought she was eating the same calories, but in reality, she was overeating and had no clue. I have done that a million times. So it's not like there was something wrong with her. This is just what happens. So the point is, weigh in grams, using measuring cups, guesses, and eyeballing can come later. But in the beginning, and I recommend at least for the first 6 to 12 months, track your food, weigh your food, and weigh it in grams. I'll digress. Okay. Now, the next thing is you want to check serving sizes very closely on your packages and be a great nutrition label reader. The FDA allows for food companies to get away with quite a bit. So you got to be a great nutrition label reader. What do I mean with they let them get away with it? Well, they allow you to, in the nutrition labels, to round up or down to the nearest attractive sellable calories when it comes to the nutrition labels. Not to mention, if you notice on here, like where this says serving per container, there are so many times where clients have shown me like, no, it's only this. This is what I had. And I'm like, hey, take a look at this. And it'll say like, however many servings, might be whatever. And then they see like, oh my gosh, I was actually getting 3 servings when I thought it was only one. Oh man. And it's all because they weren't really checking everything. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're checking to make sure what you think is a serving is actually a serving. Now, the other thing you need to know is that nutrition labels, they can let's say, underestimate how many calories you're actually getting. So one of the best things that you can do, number one, be a good label reader. Number two, the more holistic foods you can do, your lean meats, your paleo style or Mediterranean style foods, it's going to be better for you. But if you're not going to do that because it's not realistic all the time, you just want to be a good label reader to make sure that what you think you're taking in is actually what you're taking in. So there's a lot of times people will see like, oh, this is only 100 calories. And they don't realize, no, that is for a half of a serving. That one irritates me more than anything. When you think that you're looking at a serving size and you see it's a half of a serving and you're like, oh man, this is so much. Or it's, yeah, that's usually what it is. So just be sure that you're looking at nutrition labels to make sure what you think you're taking in is actually legit. Now, the next one is when you buy anything in bulk or that's not individual serving sizes, make sure that you divide it into snack bags, like I mentioned at the beginning. You want to make sure that these are divided into little bitty mini snack bags, which let me make sure that I actually told you the right one. Oh yeah, track your food. Yep, I was just making sure. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I wasn't repeating them. So you want to make sure, and this is something huge. I remember, gosh, this would have been 11 years ago. My goodness. I remember eating some Cheez-Its. It was a stressful night. And guys, I eat Cheez-Its. I love Cheez-Its. The Tabasco style. Oh, amazing. And I remember eating these Cheez-Its, and next thing I knew, I only had like this much left. It was a whole open box. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It was just so easy to just grab out chips and Cheez-Its just so quickly. And then I started realizing, well, if I take these out and I look at the label and I realize, well, however many grams is in, one serving, my wife and I decided that it made so much more sense to take them out as soon as you get your box and put them into 10 to 12 little mini bags. And that way, what happens is you go to grab this little mini bag and you're eating it. And what I was learning about through marketing was something called open loop syndrome. And open loop syndrome is where, for example, you know how shows will leave you on a cliffhanger? That creates an open loop. And so you feel like you could binge a second, third, fourth, fifth episode because of this open loop that has been created. Well, it's the same thing as if you open up a bag of chips and you're in one of those moods where you're just wanting chips, something inside of you tells you that you should finish it because you've got this open loop and you want to close it. So one of the best things you can do is putting these into mini snack bags or whatever snack bags, and then you get that open loop closed because you're finishing the bag of chips or the bag of cookies or whatever it is. So for me, I used to get the the Keebler Rainbow Deluxe chocolate chip cookies, but it had basically like M&Ms in them. And I could remember one time eating an entire package. And then finally, whenever I started actually taking where I think it was like 4 cookies or 6 cookies, whatever it was, I think it was 4, was a serving. Now what I would do is I would open that up, get out my milk, eat my cookies. And then if I finished those 4, I knew that I've just eaten an entire serving. Number one, it was going to make me feel satisfied because I finished the bag that I had. But if I wanted more, I had to go in, get up, get out another bag, and I knew this is going to be a second serving. So psychologically, it did something where it just made me weigh out, does this fit my goals, or is this more of an emotional thing? But when you're just eating without them being in mini snack bags because you're just, digging in like I used to, you really run the risk of overeating, even though you're not really meaning to. It's just because that open loop is open and you want to close it. It's just something psychological. So, or again, it's just one of those where you're not paying attention. You just keep going until it's gone. So highly, highly recommend this. I know it sounds like, oh, it's tedious. Guys, it takes like 2 minutes to do this. It's so simple. We do it all the time. It's so effective. Okay, number 8. Do not walk to the pantry or the refrigerator until you've decided what it is that you want, all right? When you do, you want to walk there, grab what you decided upon, and immediately close without gawking around and looking at what else might be there. I don't know about you, but I used to go to the fridge and you're kind of either bored or hungry and you're looking and you're like, What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? No, I don't want that. And all you're doing is you're seeing all of these temptations. And again, there's what's called decision fatigue. So you're saying no to foods that you're seeing there. No, can't have that. Don't have room for this. Oh, I shouldn't eat that. And you're saying no, 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 no. And then all of a sudden, like you start feeling like that decision fatigue where you go, well, I got to eat something. I'm hungry. And then you're like, well, fine, I'll grab this. And you end up settling for something that doesn't serve your goals and it doesn't help at all. And then you feel guilty after because you just chose something you probably wouldn't have had you decided before you walked up to the pantry or to the fridge. Okay. So, what I want you to do is to instead determine what you're going to have before you go to the pantry or to the refrigerator and decide before then. Go there, grab it, get out, shut those doors, and then you're not going to be as likely to fall prey to decision fatigue. Okay. So, number 9, when you don't have a scale with, now again, this is talking about the first 6 months to a year, you can guesstimate, but don't just skip logging and don't just say, well, they just didn't have any. So I didn't know. I just did the best I could. Usually what that means is you didn't do the best you could, but you maybe chose a burger instead of pizza, or you maybe didn't eat every fry that was there. It doesn't really mean that. We were so Usually, most of us are so easy to say, I did the best I could. It's just something that just knee-jerk reaction. I'm doing the best I can. I'm stressed. All this. And the reality is that it's not really that true. So when a scale isn't around, it's okay to guesstimate. And as you'll see here with these really funny hands, you can use your hands on actually making sure that your portions are under control, okay? I won't go through all of that on this video, but inputting some data, even if you're using like MyFitnessPal, you can go, let's say that you're at like a burger joint and you're like, oh man, they don't have the nutrition menu. They don't have this. They don't have that, whatever. They didn't have anything online. Go to MyFitnessPal, go to the Lose It app, or if you're using our app, use that. And you'll look up let's say a burger, a double cheeseburger and fries. It may not be the exact portion size or the exact style of burger, but putting in nothing into your food tracking app is going to put you way further off than guesstimating and finding something close. Now, if you look in your MyFitnessPal or whatever it is that you're using, and you see, well, dang, Lance, there's like, I'm eating a burger and fries, and I see like this burger at Five Guys is like 1,000 calories. This burger here at, let's say, Freddy's is only 500, and then this one here is like 700. What do I do? Well, what I would recommend you doing is choosing the middle one, and that way you're going to kind of split the difference. What you don't want to do is just choose the bottom one unless you know for a fact that bottom lowest calorie one is the one that actually works, okay? It's going to help you so much so that you're not blowing your macros and going over your calorie targets, which leads to gaining or not losing body fat. So simply using some of this to make sure that you're at least within the parameters of what your calorie needs are absolutely, it's going to help you tremendously. So scale is going to be best, but if you don't have that, you can use your hands for portion sizes. Now, I've got a full lesson if you want me to do this on how to use your hands for portion sizes. So drop a comment below if you want me to cover that, and I'll cover exactly how to do that, where it's like, fist size for protein, palm size for carbs, thumb for fats, and so on and so forth. I'll go through exactly, and you'll see some visuals on how to do that. And spoiler, you won't have these drawn hands on how to do that, but I thought these were too funny not to use. So nevertheless, guys, this works so well. And if you're anything like me, anytime that I don't track and I go, well, great, I can't track this because I have no clue. There's no, nutrition labels. There's no, facts on anything. I end up getting into what I call screw it mode. Screw it mode is where I'm just like, well, I can't do that, so I may as well get what I want. And then when I say get what I want, that means get anything that I want and it's basically like not being able to see how much the coat cost at Target and going, well, I have no clue how much it costs, so I may as well go for the biggest, nicest looking one, or it'd probably make more sense if we're talking about being at a department store, maybe at Macy's or something, and going, I have no clue how much this one costs, and I'm sure it looks like a budget coat, but this one here looks more like an Armani coat, and since I don't know how much this one is, I may as well spring for this one. And it just is going to end up being devastating for you when you realize how much you overspent on your calories. So don't do that. Just guesstimate, and this will help you tremendously. All right, number 10. 10 is 10.1 and 10.2 because there's two that I want that go together. So number 1 is enter food that you most desire in your logging app early in the day, okay? What I mean by that is that we teach that you can eat foods that you desire in what's called the 80-20 rule. I'm going to talk about in the very next slide. So if you do have that, let's say that you want a burger, let's say you want ice cream, let's say that you want a piece of pie, the very first thing that you do that day or the day before is to put in your fitness app, your logging app, that pie or that ice cream, and then you eat around it rather than eating it and then, going to dinner and realizing, oh man, I blew all my calories on that pie I had, and now me just eating my chicken and, I don't know, let's say mashed potatoes, that's something decent, puts me over. Gosh, man, I blew it. And then when you have blown it and you realize it, you might get into screw it mode again, where you're like, well, I already messed up. I may as well start over tomorrow. Have you ever been there? I've been there. A lot of my clients have as well. Don't do that. It's only going to make you feel worse. And the reason that we're willing to do this stuff in the moment is because in the moment, our emotions start feeling higher and more urgent than the emotions we're going to feel tomorrow of, oh, I blew it. So what I want you to do is just to use this where you think ahead. If you're going to have a snack, an ice cream, a whatever it is, put it in early in the day and make sure you've got the room for it in your macro or calorie budget. The same way that you would is if you go, oh, I'm going to swing by or I'm going to take the family out to a nice dinner tonight. You're going to check and make sure, have we gotten all of our bills paid? Did we get all of the the revenue that was supposed to come in? If not, what happens is you take the family to this nice dinner, spend $200, then you get home the next day and like, oh gosh, so and so didn't pay their bill this week. A client didn't do this or whatever, and then now you're stressing. It's the same exact thing. Everything that I'm talking about here is all stewardship. It's just little techniques that I've learned since 2005 to steward well so that I have a fit and healthy physique without being miserable and without living like I'm on a diet all the time, because I don't do that. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. Now, 10.2, plan even your healthy meals out in your logging app before the day that you're eating it or earlier that morning. What you don't want to do is just wing it unless you're already in love with your current clothing size, your shape, or your body fat percentage, or all three. And the reason I say this is because so many times people are like, yeah, I just didn't plan. I didn't plan well enough. And then I went to get dinner, or then I went to do this and I realized I overdid it. Guess it'll be better tomorrow. Well, guys, this is not good stewardship, because you're basically letting, let's say, happenstance dictate your results. And if you're like me, where you do get bummed out because you're not getting the results that you're working hard for, then I would say think ahead and plan so that let's say tomorrow, all right, tomorrow I'm going to do, I don't know, let's say buffalo chicken pizza for dinner, and let's say grilled chicken tacos for lunch, and I don't know, let's say like a cheese and egg omelet for breakfast. You put that in, and that way there's no surprises. Then you go to eat that and you see like, hey, this all fit my budget, and hey, look, it looks like I've got room to get me a couple of cookies. What you don't want to do is you just kind of wing it as you go. Then let's say you go to a restaurant and you're like, well, I'll just get a salad. You get a salad, and if you're like me, I'm going to literally use the right one. Let's say you go to Chili's, this is what I did, and you get a Santa Fe chicken salad. And then you realize later when you get home, 1,400 calories for a salad. I would have rather had a burger and fries for that for less. This is what happens when you don't plan ahead. So you want to put things in the day before. Now, again, am I telling you that you've got to do this forever? No. But in the beginning, especially if you're not trying to just do some random diet, the more you know about how fat loss and muscle building works, the more freedom you have. So all of these 10 eating rules are just for the first 10 months so that you get this dialed in. Once it's habit for you, you can stop, because you're going to be able to eyeball stuff. You're going to know, every time I eat this, it hurts my stomach. Or when I eat ice cream, I know about the size of the bowl so that I'm not doing a lamp-sized salad bowl like what he explained that he did, and I'm not going over my macros or over my calories, which means I lose body fat, I get the foods that I want, so on and so forth, okay? So the final one here is bonus rule. This is what we'll call number 11. Use the 80-20 rule and stop cutting out all of your favorite foods just to lose fat or just to get in shape. Stop doing MetaFast. Stop doing keto. Stop doing straight paleo, the Whole30. Stop doing all of those, because what they do is they take out the thinking for you, but they also take out the flexibility, and they don't teach you how to eat indefinitely. And that's one of the biggest issues that I've seen in my 20 years of fitness coaching is most people only learn how to get in shape in the way that yo-yo weight loss dieters do. They don't know how to get in shape or keep themselves in shape the way that a fitness coach does. Now, I used to do it the way that yo-yoers do, not anymore. What's the difference? Yo-yoing is where it's like, great, I'm 40 pounds overweight. I got to get this off, so I guess I got to go on a diet. I guess I got to go on a plan. And I want it to be fast. I want it to be as easy as possible without thinking, and so I can get back to normal as soon as I can. Well, if you're thinking you've got to get back to normal, it means that what you're doing is abnormal, which means it's not going to likely fit into your lifestyle long term. And if that's the case, you can bet you're going to lose body fat and regain it later, or you're going to gain strength and lose it later because you didn't keep up with habits, because those habits didn't fit your life. So how does this work? 80% of your calories, because again, based on this video, we're assuming you know. If you don't know this, go and check out my video on calories. We're assuming that you already know how many calories approximately you need to take in to make sure that you're within your budget. 80% of those calories should come from whole foods, all right? Whole foods, lean meats, you're gonna fruits, vegetables, lean fats like nuts, different things like that. You know what to eat on those things. Everybody tells me I already know what to eat, I just don't do it. Okay, well, those are the things you want to eat 80% of the time. But you need to know just eating healthy is not enough to lose body fat. I had a client 10 years ago, maybe 9. She would, she was eating healthy all the time. She literally never gave herself permission to eat any fun foods at all. And she was not losing any body fat at all. And I told her, we're not going to call her name. I told her, let's call her April. So I'm like, April, the reason you're not losing is because even though you're working out really hard with me and you're eating healthy, you're still overindulging on calories because you lead a sedentary life. No, 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 it can't be that. I'm eating healthy, I promise. There's no way. I don't even eat that much. I'm like, okay, okay. Finally, after I think it was the second month, she's like, okay, what do I got to do? And I'm like, well, first thing you're going to do, I want you to track your food for 5 to 7 days. So she tracks her food, and what do we notice? We notice that she's eating like 1,000 calories more than what her calorie deficit should have been. So I was like, do you see this is why you're not losing and why you're staying bloated? And she's like, how is this happening? Well, avocado is very high calories, even though it's nutrient dense, it's calorie dense. All the nuts you're eating, the eggs, all of this stuff, it's all high calorie. It's good, but it's high calorie. And if you don't know how much you're eating and you don't know how active you are not, you're going to gain. So what did we do? We increased her daily steps so that she got more calories burned without working out, more, because she's already working out plenty. And we adjusted her calories. What we did, though, is we put her on the 80-20 rule. So 80% of her calories were from the same holistic, healthy food she was already eating. But then I started encouraging her, because her husband loved frozen yogurt and all of those things. Start indulging with your husband. He was super lean. Start indulging with him. 20% of the time you get these calories. So 80% of the time is going to be your whole foods. 20% of the time is going to be these foods. So pizza, hot dogs, donuts, whatever it might be. Now, again, I'm not going to recommend that you go and eat all this processed foods and that you eat bioengineered foods. I definitely don't recommend that. But when you do 20% of your calories to come from fun foods, it doesn't matter that they're calorie dense, because 80% of your calories are nutrients, nutritious. 20% are calorie dense, less nutritious. And you're getting that sensation that you are indulging, but yet you're still within your macro and calorie budget, okay? it's the way I kind of see it is, maybe this might be a labored metaphor, bear with me. The way I see it is, it's kind of like going to a, I don't know, what is that? Oh, come on now. The really expensive store that, and we used to go to this place all the time. It'll come to me in a minute. They have, I can't believe I just forgot that. I literally thought about it before there. So there is a really expensive department store, and then there's like a knockoff version of that department store where you're getting the same things. Maybe it's last season's model, and you're saving like 70 or 80%. That's kind of the way that I see this here. It's going to keep you within your budget, but you're still getting the foods that you want. Maybe that's a labored metaphor. I'll come up with something better later. But for now, it makes sense, all right? So basically, what this means is that you're still within your budget. So you're still stewarding well. But because you're stewarding well over the amount of total calories you're taking in, why not allow 20% of those calories to be fun foods? That way you feel like you're getting a cheat, but you're not cheating because you're not going over your calories. It's amazing. I promise you it works. And you can do this 7 days a week. Not a cheat day, not a cheat meal. You can have your calculated cheat 7 days a week. When I started doing this, it changed everything for me. I remember the first time feeling guilty because I'm like, I'm literally eating pizza rolls for dinner as a fitness coach. And I don't get that. This is weird. And then I started noticing body fat decreasing, strength was still going up. I had never felt more food freedom in my life. It was amazing. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you to use the 80-20 rule. It will help you so very much. I promise you. Okay. So do you want to learn the ins and outs? Let me make sure that I just heard my microphone just adjust. Yep, it's still working. Good. Do you want to learn the ins and outs of fat loss nutrition and gaining strength the fun and realistic way? Not just the 80-20 rule, but all of the different things that I teach my clients, from hunger cues to understanding how to do the glycemic index, all of these things so that you can master your nutrition without feeling like you've got to live like a fitness monk. If so, I wrote a short book just for you. It's called Food, Love, and Fat Loss, the most comprehensive guide to losing fat, not flavor. This is going to show you how to build real, true food freedom like I've got, like my clients have, without sabotaging your goal. So imagine losing body fat, losing the belly, fitting into your favorite jeans, your favorite dress, so you no longer feel like you have a muffin top, but knowing also that when you go to your church functions, when you go to client dinners, or when you go to, I don't know, something for your kids, you don't have to say no to what's there. Okay. And you're still going to be losing and building strength. That's what we do here. Okay. If that's for you, go ahead and check the links below. You can grab my book and it'll help you. And it's right now, it's cheaper than it's ever been. So the last thing is you'll also see a link. If you don't know how many calories and protein, fats, all that stuff that you need, it is in my book. You can get that, but there's also a free calorie calculator below. So you can click that link and it is going to give you your exact calories that you need for fat loss, exact proteins, fats, and carbs. It's all free. So that is everything, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and bearing with me as I kind of, came up with these labored metaphors. Hopefully they made sense. But that's everything. So thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of my other content coming out for faith-driven, high achievers just like you who want to get in shape and actually have your health and fitness built on rock instead of on sand like the world teaches. Thanks, guys. We'll see you all on the next one.